Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Top of the table. Brian Bentley along with Mark Villa, Hank Alexander, Chris Ballard. Enjoy the background.
Wait, start over. What's my last name?
They ain't known you 10 years plus.
Did he call you Fishkin?
Alexand. Come on.
Honk. Oh, excuse me.
Man.
Honk Alexand in his chateau. Does that make you feel better?
Thank you very much.
And we're joined this week by our very special guest from the Chicago Fire, Chicago Red Stars, Mexican women's national team. What was your European team you played for?
Oh, I can't even say it. It was some team in Lithuania.
There you go.
I don't know.
You wore red. That's all
you could have said anything. We would agree. We don't know.
Impalers!
It's Christina Murillo, everybody. Welcome to the show. We want to have Christina on because last week we started the show talking about the NWSL, and that actually discussion carried on after the show and through the week. As you can see, Mark's wearing his Thorns jersey. So Mark's already a step ahead of what we're going. We need to pick teams, and we know nothing about the NWSL, so I thought we would turn to an expert.
Am I the expert?
Well, yeah, it's not us four idiots.
Oh no. Okay.
So, we need your help. There's no team here in Dallas, so I need to pick a team.
There's no team in Boston.
No team
There's
in
no
Boston.
team in Connecticut.
My team in Connecticut. Nothing starts in LA till next year. And I was going to buy the Chicago neighborhood jersey with the 4 stars across the front, but when it came out, they didn't have it in fat kid size, or they were out of it, so I couldn't buy it. So
I'll make sure to let them know that that's very important. We want to be inclusive.
Yes, fat kid size is important.
Important customer feedback.
Yes,
right.
I still want that
male moo-moos are welcome. Absolutely.
Oh, already got the hashtag for this week.
All right.
Fat kid size.
Fat kid size.
So Christina, have things improved from where NWSL started 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know if the NWSL was around 10 years ago.
Was it? Yeah.
WPS for a while, wasn't it?
When we had the LA Soul.
It was WPS.
WPS.
So different. Yeah.
That morphed into WSL after half a season, right? There was like the half season shut down because Magic Jack screwed everything up.
Can we mute Mark's microphone? Just mute Mark right now.
My bad.
Let Christina speak.
Sorry.
I think I actually in 2011 I played in the semi-pro league, and all of the professional players were playing in it because the professional women's league had shut down. So that would mean at least from 2012, like even at that, like 8 years, I obviously has to improve, right? 8-9 years. I can check Wikipedia. I don't know at the top of my head, but I do know that I got to play with players like Rachel Daly, who plays for the Houston Dash, and there was quite a few players on my team that I think are still playing professionally. But yeah, no, it has to improve. I think that's just the nature of how it goes. Previously, I think that league went under. I heard there was a rumor that they're playing Marta like in 2008, like $500,000 for LA Soul, and she wasn't going to play for anything less. So yeah, no, it has to get better. It's U.S. women's soccer, which is the best in the world, because how many World Cups does the U.S. women's national team have?
Right. So, Christina, though, we've seen over the last couple of years, go back a few years, we saw players, spending a couple of months in Europe here and there, et cetera. I think Megan Rapinoe was one of the first that I remember going over and playing in France, and then coming back and playing in the United States. But now we're seeing people just going over and playing in England now. And do we see a power shift happening as we speak? Is the money, because I think the money's in England.
Yeah,
and I think. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's interesting because I think the U.S. women's national team players they're on federation contracts. So what happens is they get to make 6 figures a year. At least that's the rumors. And the Mexican league, the Mexican national team players and Canadian national team players were actually involved with that system at one point. The Mexican national team pulled out the first year, and quite frankly, with the amount of time that the U.S. women's national team players, I don't blame them to go overseas to make more money. Like, who doesn't want to do that? But there is a bit of an advantage at playing within the NWSL because they can pull out any time to go up to national team camps. When you play in England, you're only going to go up for FIFA dates, and that can hurt you, especially in Olympic year. You have to be able to leave any time. So there is that hesitancy where I think these players do prioritize representing their country over their club.
That's a great point. But I was thinking more along the lines of the money. Are they getting more money in England? Because, you know, Manchester City and Manchester United, they're big, powerful clubs. What's the comparison wage wise?
As to say Lithuania.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was making so much money in Lithuania.
Do they pay you in drachmas in Lithuania? What's it maybe?
Probably. I have no idea.
You were getting paid in sausage or something? I don't know.
Probably. I was happy to play in Champions League. No, I would think, at least if you're in the top 3 or 4 teams, there's probably going to be a major drop off, but you are going to get paid more over there than you would over here. But speaking just personally as a female athlete, it was never about making a bunch of money. It was about how can I make the pathway behind me easier. And I do think that's a lot of the mindsets of women playing in the professional league, is that they just want the pathway behind them to be easier. The fact that they can have a living wage, they can hire trainers, all of that, that's so much more than 10 years ago, which is kind of crazy. The Mexican women's national team has a huge way to grow. I don't want to get in trouble to disclosing how much we got paid. It wasn't enough, like whatsoever. But yeah, you have to make that decision of, do I want to make enough money and like kind of be financially secure for the rest of my life? Or do I want to stay in the NWSL where I could help create this real future within the US national system? So you do, like, I think as a player we'll go back and forth because yeah, you deserve that money, you've worked hard. What about that next player that's coming through?
So with that in mind, are the ladies still having to 3 and 4 to a house? I mean, are they still having to have house hosts, as it were?
Yeah,
roommates.
They would be guest hosted. Yeah, it's just like, I have a spare room. You can sleep in this bed.
Yeah, I would say I think these are publicized numbers, but I think like the minimum wage for an NWSL player, at least a year or 2 years ago, was $20,000 a year, which is everybody looked like, oh god, it's horrible. And the maximum amount was $48,000. So if you are not a federation player, so that means Sam Kerr, Yuki Nagasato, these world-renowned players, Yuki Nagasato is a World Cup winner, are making $48,000 a year. So like, if they don't get support from their federation, like, it is ridiculous, like that amount of money.
I'm sorry. So is that 48K on the books? Are there incentives written inside contracts or anything like that?
I mean, I would imagine like you get to live and you don't have to pay for housing. You might get your car provided, which I guess is an okay incentive, but for the amount of time and energy you've invested into this, obviously it doesn't feel like this great of a return. And I think a lot of arguments that have been made, well, you need people at the stadiums, right? Because you need revenue coming in. And my counter is always the Mexican National League, and I don't know how much of you are familiar with it, but their strategy was to just invest a bunch of money into the women's teams and have them advertised everywhere. And to my knowledge, they make a decent amount of money, especially how much the cost of living is in Mexico. Right. At the finals for their games, they get 50,000 people for a women's soccer game, which is like world.
That's impressive.
And I'm always hypercritical of soccer, especially Mexican women's soccer. It's not the top soccer to watch in the world right now. There are other leagues,
but it's drawing.
Yeah, but they've put that money first, thinking that there's going to be this ROI, this return on their investment later on. So they've been doing this fantastic job for the last 3 or 4 years.
Do they have a TV deal?
Probably, but I think if you're already teaming up with Tigres, which is like one of the richest clubs in Latin America, like to just give like a fair amount to the women's team is so easy. So even that alone, you're teaming up with Tigres, Chivas, America, like all of those teams. I hate America. I'm a Chivas fan, but those are top teams in Latin America that just, I hope nobody else is an America fan. I hope not. I would judge people. But yeah, no, they've been willing to put that money. And I think they're doing that in England. They're doing that in the Bundesliga. They're doing that in France, where they're taking their men's team and they're leveraging that money and they're putting it in. I was supposed to play in the Bundesliga at one point, and one thing that they consistently kept telling me was that they were just saying, we're not going to make money in women's soccer now, but 10 years, 20 years down the line, we'll see that return. And I thought that was very cool to hear. NWSL, I think, needs to pick it up a bit, and the U.S. Soccer Federation needs to recognize that. Don't want to burn any bridges here. I think the USSF is all right. Okay,
Right.
Don't want to burn any bridges.
Our Nick's not going to tell anybody. Our one fan, you're okay. And the only reason I brought up the TV deal is because that seems to be like you're legitimate now because you have a TV deal, but your star players are getting $48,000.
Yeah, and it's funny. I literally am doing my my MBA in sport management right now. I'm actually doing like an analysis on if Apple were to do the exclusive streaming rights to MLS, because I think right now within the MLS sometimes it's kind of hard to watch games. So if there's a big company that can intervene and do exclusive streaming rights to one of these leagues, it's so little to invest now where you're going to get so much money later. But so, like, it just takes one entity or one person to be like, I'm going to put the money down, taking all the streaming services. So it's funny that you bring that up.
Well, I have to ask, and also maybe interject. I know you're an employee, so you can't get real specific or say a lot of things, and I respect that. There seems to be a big push to not want to align with MLS, I assume, and I agree with it, because MLS has some really dodgy financial practices and ways of marketing, and they don't do things necessarily above board, in my opinion. So I don't have a problem with that. I know when we did have the Soul here in town, they were as a season ticket holder, I got tickets to every match, but they were either after the Galaxy game or the next day in the sun after, I'm hungover. I don't want to go sit in the sun for 3 hours. It's not going to happen. Can you speak to the thought that maybe NWSL, its fans, its teams, its players don't want to align with MLS because of those kinds of circumstances?
It is. I think it is there's a bit of a tension for whatever reason. I'm not exactly I don't know what the reasons are, but it feels like there is a bit of a tension between the MLS and the NWSL. And I think that kind of goes up to even the U.S. women's national team and the U.S. men's national team. I think if there was a more of a collaborative effort between the two leagues, that'd be great. I think Portland Thorns is a perfect example of like seeing a collaborative effort, and you see, and that demographic there in Portland is perfect for women's soccer. Like, they are all about it. It's just finding, I think, the right audiences to watch soccer and then women's soccer too. But I do agree if we can find more like group efforts towards not only showing men's soccer but women's soccer, I think you're going to draw in a lot more people. But I'm just one person. I don't know.
Okay, so help the Mark already has a team, so help us other three dummies figure out. We need a team to follow. I'm familiar with the women's team, so I know Alex Morgan, I know Pino, I know. Well, obviously Tobin and Press, the ones that are over, but the ones that are here, help me find a team where I can pick up, because we watched last week.
Philadelphia Independence still a thing?
No.
If you want to be a bandwagoner, you can be Portland Thorns or Seattle Reign. That's who everyone supports. It's completely fine. If you are, I would say I don't know if this is true now, but Houston Dash, if you want like an underdog team.
They played really well the other night. That was
great.
Some
great players too.
Yeah, they've got some great players. They always feel like it's the underdog of the league. That's the team I would support. Now, if you're looking for like a team that makes playoffs every single year, they have yet to make the finals. They make the semifinals every single year. Chicago Red Stars is going to be your team. I'm trying to be very unbiased, but
Julie Ertz is there, right?
Yes. So they have 5 U.S. national team players at this point, I think.
Julie Ertz is there. Kelly.
They might have 6. Kelly O'Hara, Alyssa Nair, Morgan.
Kelly O'Hara's with the Spirit now, right?
No, Ojai.
Kelia
Ojai.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ojai. I thought she was with Houston.
No,
she got traded.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Wasn't she married to one of the Houston Texans?
No, it's JJ Watt's wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's Ojai's husband, I'll say.
So there you go.
That's the best
So,
way.
but
Yeah.
we've got RSL. They were sold. Now they're in Kansas City. We've got Gotham that just rebranded. We talked about them a lot last week.
I like Gotham.
I don't.
I think, just because
I'm not
it's
going to
Gotham.
bandwagon jump. I want a team. I want a team that
That's New York, New Jersey.
Plays a lot through the midfield and is aggressive on offense. Who would that be?
See, that's going to be hard because any team, I would imagine, I'm just guessing here, that's going to have players playing centrally, they're going to be U.S. women's national team players, but a lot of them are going to be at the Olympics. So the easy pick you'd want to pick is Chicago Red Stars, but with 5 or 6 players, they're not going to do well. I don't know. Again, I'll say her name again, Yuki Nagasato. She plays for Racing Louisville. I am the biggest fan of her, and probably the only reason.
Oh,
yeah,
Hank's,
I would.
Hank, all right. Hank's going Louisville.
I'm going to go Louisville.
All right.
I've got friends in from there. But yeah, no, I mean, you made an interesting point. And, you know, the other big one, obviously, I mean, Orlando seems to be a big draw for a lot of the players, right? And there's been a lot of players that have come out of there and are still there, you know, big names. Sydney LaRue is one that comes to mind. The Krieger and her partner, whose name I'm totally blanking on at the moment, goalkeeper.
I'm blanking on her name as well.
Ashley Harris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harris.
Yeah. But what else Orlando Pride is interesting is that they have like a very decorated. They have Marta on that team.
Yeah.
Very decorated team, but year after year, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, they don't do well.
Right.
So if you want to watch some like flashy, great soccer, but not make the playoffs, oh, that was not great to say because I have an ex-teammate. That's fine. No, but I personally wouldn't. I would. Washington Spirit, I think, is one of the youngest teams in the NWSL. They have very good soccer. It's going to be a toss-up how they do this year. So Washington Spirit would certainly be another team, but it would be between Red Stars, Washington. Well, I feel like I'm not really convincing Brian on what team to. I think
I'm going to go Kansas City only because of the drama from moving from RSL. I want to see how they do the first year.
No, that's a good one. And
why are you shaking your head? No.
I mean, there's just so many.
Chris, if you want Thorns, I can.
You think there's so many better teams? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I just don't think they're building out this year. They're not
the underdog, Bentley. You can do it. You've done it before.
Fine.
But they do have A-Rod, and she was amazing in that game last week.
I'm going to take the Washington Spirit. I'm taking the Washington Spirit.
Okay.
All right,
Ballard.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for Gotham. They're fairly local to me. They play in a nice stadium. I never thought I'd care about this, but I love the rebrand they did. I know absolutely nothing about.
Are they the Bats? Are they like no? They're not.
No, they're not. But it would be good if they were. I don't know anything about the players they have. But if I'm going to follow NWSL more, and I feel like I should because I've enjoyed women's soccer for 15, 20 years, never really had a club side. It should be a team that I can actually get to see occasionally when all this is over.
So here's
the thing about NWSL. There's no BS. There's the occasional dive, but it's not the same kind of crap you see in the men's game. It's real. And
they had the fight. And they had the fight last week, which is what
they did.
Yeah.
Now, and if you want to talk about branding, I love the Thorn jersey. That's why I got it. But the Chicago Neighborhoods jersey they did last season.
I think it was.
Or was that the season before?
I think it was last season.
It was last season. Everything went kaput. But they wore it Friday night against the Dash. And that jersey is perfection as far as branding goes.
A co-worker of mine actually designed that jersey. So she worked previously, Justine Freud. I don't know if you want people knowing that, but she helped design that jersey and then moved over to Chicago Fire. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she did awesome. All right. So Ballard is going New York Gotham. Hank is going Louisville. Mark is staying Portland. I'm going Washington Spirit. Christina is going with the Orlando Pride.
I'm now looking up Louisville on Instagram.
No.
Never.
All right. Hey, that's it. I told you we wouldn't keep you very long.
Yeah.
So what's your role at the Fire?
What's my role?
Yeah.
I have a few, but I am a girls program coordinator, so I oversee coaches for one of the affiliates. I help with community outreach, and I'm also co-chair of IDEA, which is what I was warning Brian about. That means IDEA stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility. So it's an internal council that we have.
Because there's no acronym for make sure Mark doesn't act like a moron.
Yes. Self-filter that. There you go.
You coached at 3:00. Did they have that go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was my 9-year-old. One player cried in the middle of the field, and I had to tell her to stop crying. But
it's all right.
There's no crying.
All right. Well, we thank you for having us, and we're going to get shut off here in a minute because that's what happens when you have a free Zoom account.
Okay.
Christina Murillo, everybody.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Christina, for joining us. Appreciate you coming on for the time. We all have a team to join now. We are almost through week 1 of MLS as Columbus and Philly are playing right now. And we got a game going tonight.
East of the East.
Mark, you wanted to share something with us before we got going.
I did. Earlier in the week, the Galaxy were doing a press conference, and Chicharito shared his thoughts on normalizing mental health and mental health care. And I sent Brian the link. Hopefully he will include it in the show's comments and link it to the show somehow. Get it if you get a chance, watch it, because it was a very nice thing to see a professional athlete who obviously cares about that speak on. And he did it very well. And I would just like everybody to take a look at it. I cannot explain how deeply it's affected me the last couple of years. So it's important, and we should let people talk about that, and we should normalize that. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I think, and thank you for bringing this subject that I'm very into it, and I believe a lot. But I think it's coming on not only for the soccer athletes, it's coming from you guys too. Because I think the narrative of ourselves is in your hands sometimes, and it's in my hands, for example, right? Because I can post something that is very vulnerable, and if you twist it, it cannot have the same impact like your question right now. So I think what you said, that is a subject that is very difficult to talk, that is difficult. I hope one day we can normalize that it doesn't matter how much fame you have, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how much success you have in the superficial way. It doesn't matter nothing about it. You're still a human, right? You are not more or less than any human being in this world. It doesn't matter. So I think that's a work not only of us in a way. I'm speaking us because I don't want to separate it myself from the humans all around the world. But I mean, sport athletes, and where your job has a lot, like you said, a lot of engagement in social media, a lot of impact in your words, a lot of kind of responsibility. I think we shouldn't ask for perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. That's what makes us incredible, that we are humans and we are not perfect. And each day we can improve, each day we can learn, each day, like you said it, we go through very difficult things every single day. It doesn't matter, difficultness and difficult things never going to stop in your life. When you try to reach like a flat, happy place, that's not life. It's like soccer, it's like jobs. You always want to bring an improvement in yourself, in an emotional way, when you're a dad, when you are with a family, when you are with friends, when you are with a couple, when you are with your boss, when you are the boss, when you are posting things. Life is like that. That's the interesting part of it. You can keep knowing yourself every single moment. And sorry that I keep speaking more than other questions, but that's a subject that I'm trying to do in a way in interviews, in my social media. And my social media is easier because I don't have no one to ask me. But thank you specifically, because I don't want to say that you do a better job than the other guys that have been asking me. But I hope one day we can normalize ourselves, that we are humans, right? We are humans. It doesn't matter. Being here in this position doesn't mean that I have more value than yourself, guys, or than any other person working here in the stadium or whatever. We're just human. And so we go through a lot of stuff. We're going to keep going through stuff. But the most important thing is we can see ourselves as a human, that we want to push ourselves doing stuff. We want to do what we are passionate about it. But we shouldn't ask perfection, for ourselves, because we are humans in the end. I'm not a robot. I'm not perfect. No one is going to do it. So that's the funny thing. And that's the paradoxical thing in this life. And that's the incredible thing, that you always can know yourself and you can improve and you can grow.
So now let's make jokes about soccer. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you win the Canada Poutine Bowl,
We're not to that point
you get
yet.
a Champion League spot, right? If the finalists for MLS Cup get a CCL spot, right? Okay, and then Supporter Shield gets a CCL spot, and U.S. Open Cup gets a CCL spot, right? So that's
I'm
5
also going to
spots.
tweet out the picture of Charlie Day from It's Sunny with his crazy conspiracy theory board behind him, because this is the conversation that Mark and I had the other night. And it is way more put together now than it was the other night.
Okay. So let's say you win the Moose and Squirrel Cup up in Canada, right? Okay, great. You get your Champions League spot. Fuck yeah. Okay, cool. Let's say you're the 2 finalists for MLS Cup. You get your Champions League spot. Fuck yeah, cool. I'm good with that. This year, Supporters Shield, like last year's, absolutely meaningless, absolutely a joke. With this year's schedule, it means nothing. The fact we haven't had a balanced schedule in 10 years, it's meant nothing for 10 years. So, Supporters Shield, they get a plate, and that's it. Nothing else. No Champions League. No Champions League. No U.S. Open Cup this year. It's been canceled. So, what do we do with that spot? Fat kids on it. So, finalists, MLS Cup. Finalists in MLS Cup get the Champions League spot, right? So now the 2 losing semifinalists, right? They lose, right? Yeah. So losing semifinalists, losers of the 2 semifinal games get to play the top 2 teams from league in USL, like that. Yeah, like that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And the winners of that bracket, those 2 winners, those get the other 2 Champions League spots.
That's not a bad deal.
Right? I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Get USL involved. Why not?
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you're not going to have Open Cup, yeah.
And if they win, more power to them, right?
Because I mean, you win the Canadian. You know, you win the Canadian Beaver Invitational. Sure, get your Champions League spot. That's great, but we can't. Supporter Shield is meaningless, useless, and a joke, and it has been for 10 years. For anything of merit.
I would agree. It's not a crazy theory. I enjoy it. I think that it's smart to get USL involved, given the fact that the Open Cup is canceled.
And looking at that lack of offside call today in the Miami LA game, it didn't affect the game in the end. Okay, but it's important how bad that call was. Oh, he was so far offside.
He looked onside to me.
He was onside. There's the one guy in the back who's holding him on when the ball was played. We all saw
all of the still pictures are after the ball's been kicked.
Let's go on, Bentley.
Question number 1. You can't see it because your background. That way, dude. Even your backdrop.
No.
Question number 1. Austin FC.
Yeah, he's so far offside.
Lost their debut 2-0 at LAFC. But the question is, they will end the season with a winning record. True or false? Chris?
False.
Mark?
So, see, the thing is, he was offside. I logged it up on my camera on my phone. And the point is, it didn't affect the game in the end, so I don't care.
Hank?
Austin FC will have a losing record.
All right, so we're going to go with false. Question number 2. Montreal absolutely blew the doors off Toronto yesterday. They finished top 3 in the East. They won 4-2. They finished top 3 in the East. True or false? Hank?
Top 3 in the East?
Yep.
Well, there's room. It's potential. I mean, I don't see it happening, to be honest, but new coach. They're playing in Orlando. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard. I think it's a one-off. And who they play Toronto, they're also relegated to playing down away from home. Yeah, it's an aberration. I think
so. You're saying false?
Not likely.
All right,
false.
Mark. Montreal finishes top 3.
Yes, possibly, but this could have affected.
Chris, Montreal finishes top 3.
I also think false. I don't think yesterday's game was a true reflection of the team, so they'll be mid-table.
All right.
In the East.
Question number 3. Cincinnati's big offseason moves got them 2 goals versus the tough Nashville defense yesterday. Do they have anyone on that squad that finishes with 8+ goals? Mark, don't say anything about offsides.
Just saying.
Rule of three. You've already hit your 3.
I'm just saying pro referees got to get it together. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes, Cincinnati, I think, will have a goal scorer. I don't know who it's going to be, but odds are they'll have
having 8+? 8+?
Yes.
Okay. Ballard.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think they'll score enough goals that someone's going to get that many.
Hank?
I don't know who's on the team, so no, I don't think so.
Well, there you go. Fair enough. Question number 4. FC Dallas has established themselves and their academy as the gold standard, but had no homegrowns in the starting 11 last night. Is this a trend?
And they lost.
Scored 0.0. Hank?
Is it a trend?
Yes.
Unlikely.
Okay. Chris?
I think they'll get some homegrowns in there.
No, it's not a trend. It's a blip.
Yeah. They also had 3 of them were injured last night. Mark?
They didn't have any homegrowns on the bench because they were all in the safe standing area holding up the bike racks.
That was bad, wasn't it?
Fair enough.
That was pretty not good.
But who scarfed the statue yesterday? I did here at home, but did anybody do it in Dallas?
Question number 5. After today's result, has Phil Neville been fired yet?
No, they look good today. They looked really good. It was a fun match.
Yeah.
I think he will be fired eventually. Actually, no, he won't. Beckham won't fire him. He'll walk
I don't know
away.
how they got
the
Tim Howard to be a center forward on that team.
Well, this is our abbreviated edition since Christina was kind enough to come on and we talked. Oh, sorry to Evan Ream. We didn't have him on to discuss Sacramento's opener this week. We'll try to get him on.
That wasn't 10 questions.
I also didn't get asked about Phil Neville.
Oh, Chris.
I don't have an opinion.
There you go. Thank you very much.
He won't get fired, but he won't get fired by Beckham unless he gets caught in bed with his wife, and even then.
Yeah.
Ballard, give your plugs.
I have nothing to plug. Just follow me on the Twitter at Chris J Ballard for humor occasionally.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up one thing else I want to bring up really quick. I read earlier in the week that Nash Vegas' new stadium is nearing completion, and they are going to be really cool and edgy and have benches on opposite sides of the field. They're not going to have both teams on the same side of the pitch.
So like NFL.
I call bullshit, because how's it going to work with the 4th referee? They can't do that. FIFA's just going to go.
Oh, wow.
Both teams on one side.
Did you really just punch your computer?
No.
Yeah. Pow.
I got a boner. Seriously, how can they can't do that, can they? I mean,
FIFA got to get caught up from having Christina on the first part of the show.
What?
Mark, give your tweet, give your plugs.
Seriously, that VAR call could have happened later.
At the Mark Villa on Twitter, Hank Alexander.
Hisco5 on Twitter.
All right, there you go. At Top of the Table TV, you can watch this horrific train wreck at topoftheTable.tv. At Brian Bentley, if anybody cares. Mark is still going. You can watch this also on the video. Thank you much for joining us.
They've got to get this right.
You can follow along at FatKids, #FatKidSize. And again, our apologies to Evan Ream. We will have him on next week to discuss Sacramento. That's it. Thank you for joining us on Top of the Table.